Bum 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 bum. The Peter Dislike Show. Bum 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 bum. So in just 1 week, I consumed a total of about 40 pounds of celery. What had happened was I was reading a study about how celery makes guys smell attractive to girls. I'm going on a blind date tomorrow. And during my last week of eating celery, a lot of interesting drama has unfolded. Yesterday, I was at the student union at the community college where I teach and had a good conversation with a girl. I don't know if celery contribute. See, you can never know, right? Because yes, I did have some wacky conversations with various girls this week, but there are so many things that are different about this week than other weeks, right? Yeah, the celery intake was only one of them, right? There was also I recorded a lot of videos at the student union. People saw me go in Peter dislike. There was obviously it's finals week. People were de-stressing over finals, and that could be contributing to that. So you never know. That's what makes it really tricky, right? I've also been taking a lot of breaks from my I've been taking a break from my bismuth art in large part because I can't focus and I don't want to hurt myself. And that could be all one could, I'm going to be doing some bismuth art today actually to calm my nerves a little bit because now everything else is just going wacky now. You guys saw yesterday I recorded the some of the bismuth that I had. Um and Gonna be going back to that. I was at the Apache Junction Public Library when another girl was talking to me. They have a sewing club. They got all sewing machines and fabrics, and I was hoping to learn how to sew in order to put together Mondrian squares. And so I was looking at my computer for this Mondrian pattern, and this girl starts talking to me about that, and she's pretty good with math like that too. And then she was talking to her dad about uh, what a genius I am and all that. And so, to give you an idea of how young she is, it's too bad if she weren't so young. That would have been good. But to give you an idea of how young she is, I would have to board a spaceship, fly to Proxima Centauri and back at the speed of light, and then do another round or two round trips to Proxima Centauri, and then after I arrive home from two round trips to Proxima Centauri, then we can go on our first date, right? I also attract a lot of girls who are way older than me. I was at the student union when this other professor uh, had a conversation with me about some of the AI that I was programming for a computer game. And to give you an idea how old she is, she would have to board the spaceship to Proxima Centauri and back, maybe three round trips before we could go on our first date. And that's unfortunate. I attract if I'm attracting people due to my appearance, they're too young, and if it's due to my intelligence, they're too old, right? So that's a big problem, right? Um, but that's three interesting conversations I had in 1 week, and I don't know if it's the celery, but I'm not taking any chances. I'm going to be consuming at least 10 pounds of celery today again, but unfortunately, there's a huge side effect. I'll let you think about that. It has nothing to do with the physical effects of celery. The problem is that the celery is taking up a huge chunk of my appetite and leaving me with no room for things that I want to be eating. The other problem is that the other thing is that there's another issue. I I have not um, been eating other things that I want because I'm afraid my face is going to break out. And I'm so glad we only got 36 more hours before I know if this date is going to work out. If it is, it is. If it isn't, at least I get to go back to my favorite foods. I wish I could be doing this more, though. If I had dozens of first dates to go to, I wouldn't be. I mean, I'd still eat the celery, but I wouldn't go all in about it, right? And a lot of other things I would relax down. I've been reading a lot about what to do on your first date, and it makes me wish I could practice it more, right? When I was talking to the chemistry student at the student union, when I was talking to the the history professor, and also when I was talking to that young girl uh, at the public library, I kind of used that as practice. I pretended that I needed to talk like it was a first date, and that was good. That was really good practice. None of those people are people I would ever consider dating, but it was good practice. Maybe I need to do that more. But you know what? It took a lot of celery before any of that happened. So, and the concept of eating so much celery every day for the rest of my life has been really depressing me. It really has. It really has. And also, to give you an idea of how much celery I ate, I had prepared some clothes that I was going to wear for this date, but when I put them on, I realized they were too big. Uh, and that's just from 4 days of eating celery. Imagine we extrapolate that into a number of years, right? Um, all right, please continue to pray for me by leaving a dislike on this video. You know, I think of the like and dislike don't cut it. YouTube ought to have a like, a dislike, and a middle finger for when you really, 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 really dislikes a video, right? I The other thing I want you guys to pray for me. I suspect there's been a curse placed on me. I've been having an extremely bad run of bad luck for a number of years. Those veteran viewers of my channel will understand it. When COVID first broke out, I was teaching at another school, Washington Technology University, and I I got I kind of got forgotten by the university. Most of my colleagues were married, had kids, and I felt very underappreciated. I felt underappreciated at the job. On July 4, 2020, there was a lunar eclipse, and I distinctly remembered um, after the eclipse looking for somewhere to plug in my computer, look for Wi-Fi. You got to remember, July 4, 2020, you couldn't exactly go inside of a Starbucks and sit down. In Seattle, there were not too many places with electricity on the outsides of buildings, right? And I raced around town looking for somewhere where I can plug in my computer, work on Wi-Fi. I got an adapter for my car to plug stuff in, but I was running the computer on the car so much during that time that I blew the fuse in my car, and I was frantically looking up on YouTube how to replace the fuse in the car. I had like 2% battery left on my computer, and I looked up the video just in the nick of time to fix it. And I was like, gee, why can't I have a day off? I mean, all my colleagues were taking time off to tend to COVID related problems, right? And I was very upset. And then I started a job at a tutoring center over in Seattle, Washington. And again, I got very lousy treatment there as well. And also, a girl there kind of harassed me. I think she was interested in me. She was only 17 years old, and created a very toxic environment. Uh, and then I started making art out of bismuth toward the end of my time in Seattle. You guys remember my first crystals? I was I had a favorite parking spot at the park and ride where there was an outlet that I could use, and I was making a lot of art there. One night as I was doing this, some homeless guy comes up to me thinking I'm making crystal meth, and so it you know what? At the time, I was really lonely. So just the fact that somebody would come up and think that I was making drugs was kind of a colorful conversation too. But it gave me a little bit of concern, right? Because after all, I lived in my car. All my worldly possessions were all packed in this one box. And here somebody is trying to think that that I have drugs in the car, right? It kind of gave me a little bit of concern. Fortunately, not long after that incident, I moved here to Phoenix. Then I got here and ran into more toxicity at my job, and also I've been having difficulty with, this is I mean, part of the reason that I went all out with making sure everything goes right with this date is that I'm recording this in November of 2024. It has been over a year since I last kissed a girl, and I feel very left out. And so how do I meet her? You mean the girl I'm going out with tonight? Actually, it was I offered a reward for anybody who could set me up on a date. You guys remember that? And my friend at the church, he won the reward, but he doesn't even want it, and I have to give it to him. The reason I have to give it to him is that I want to feel like I have skin in the game, right? Um, if I give it to him, it's about $2,000. I'll feel like I definitely cannot mess up on. It's kind of like when I go to a computer Olympia tournament. They're usually held in Japan or Amsterdam, and it costs $1 or $2,000 to travel there. And once I get there, I don't want to screw it up, right? Contrast that to I go to a backgammon tournament that's just next door. I could go there and quickly make a blunder, right? Because I don't have too much skin. The entry fee might not be that bad, right? Compared to $1 or $2,000 to fly to another country, right? The entry fee, that's only for a fun event, right? It's kind of like a movie ticket, right? You're not going to pay too much attention. But imagine you have to pay $3,000 to go to a Taylor Swift concert. You're not going to miss a moment of that, right? That's so I need to give him the, and plus I it's just the right thing to do. I offered it, and he wanted fair and square, and and plus just get the word out there about the metals involved in that route. You guys remember bismuth, indium, silver, right? Get the word out there about investing in these metals, right? But that's why I've been eating. Yesterday, to give you an idea how well the celery has worked, yesterday I was at the student union, and I was I met a girl who was studying chemistry, and I had bragged to her about because she was upset that there's just too many guys in the classroom, not too many girls want to study chemistry. And so I used it as an opportunity to brag about repeating a chemistry experiment that one of the first female chemists ever had done, right? I bragged to her about how I extracted radioactive dust out of our vacuum cleaner at home. Household dust contains a small amount of polonium-210 because radon in the air decays into positively charged polonium-210, which then sticks to the dust in the household. And what I had done, I used to live in another house that was a little bit on the high side of. We had about 0.2 picocuries of radon in our air per liter, and it was really dusty. We had a bookshelf that had so much dust behind it, and after I had vacuumed it up, I put a Geiger counter next to the dust, and it was off the charts. And I discovered that I could dissolve the organic material from the dust into a piranha solution acid, and then distill off the acid and get a very radioactive sludge out of that. I was bragging to the girl about this, and it really interested her a lot. And then I asked her if, because she had bragged about some personal chemistry experiments she had done as well. I asked her if she thought uh, her professor would let us borrow the fume hood at the campus, so that I wanted to show her some art that I make, and we can do it out of some really poisonous metals like thallium, like tellurium, maybe arsenic, and maybe even some of the radioactive metals. Right? I hope to eventually collect 1 million expired smoke detectors. Smoke detectors have americium in them, and potentially also some neptunium. And I hope to extract that out of 1 million or so smoke detectors. And I have an idea how to do that. The americium comes in a button that's about the size of a pea, and I want to extract. What I'm thinking of doing is extracting thousands and thousands of those buttons, and then mixing it with charcoal in a carbothermal reduction, and then heating it up in the furnace. And americium has a melting point that's not that bad, actually. Let me see what it is. Amer- Oh wait, americium is pretty high. It's neptunium that has a low melting point. Neptunium has a melting point of about 1200 degrees Fahrenheit. And so we could heat that up with charcoal and then pour it out. There's not much. You need very old smoke detectors to get neptunium. Americium has a half life of 432 years. And the other possibility is thorium, but that's not that rare. That's not as impressive. Um, I also thought about well, the household dust, the radioactive sludge. That's probably not going to get us enough to make any sort of art. But you could potentially alloy that stuff with other metals and have at least something that's radioactive, right? Um, what else I think about? So I was gonna ask her about if we could borrow the fume hood, and she took me to her chemistry lab to show me, and that gave me a really good feeling that the celery was working. And so I went out and bought another 4 pounds of celery, and I quickly wolfed it all down. And then I felt sick. I had explosive diarrhea last night as a result of that. Now, what's really upsetting, I was reading a lot about what to do, what not to do on your first date. And I, uh, I can't get it right. I mean, the celery, I like it. I don't have a problem with the taste or anything. And I like the effects that it's giving me. Uh, but I don't like the explosive diarrhea. I don't like the fact that it's consuming all of my appetite. I don't like the fact that my clothes are falling off. Every time I discover something good, bad stuff follows it for some reason. I don't know why. When I first started my bismuth art career, I really liked how all the stuff I was making out of it. I really liked all the attention that I was getting out of it. But then I didn't like the fact that I was pulling all nighters from it. That I was burning myself. That I was depending on where I lived, I often didn't have a good place to do it. I had to sneak out. Like for example, where I live right now. today, hopefully my I live with my landlord. Hopefully she's going to be away for some time, and then I can do it. Having the sneak like that, having a double life like that, it's just. I hate how every time I feel like I find the Holy Grail, bad stuff, curses follow it. Right, every time I discover what I think is a Holy Grail, a curse will follow it. That's been the story of my life. Speaking of curses, I think somebody has cursed me because I didn't finish that story. Um, so I got multiple toxic jobs, and then I landed my dream job at. I started at Phoenix College. My first semester at that college, I wasn't sure if this was going to be another trap because I had run into so many toxic jobs leading up to that, and so I decided to ramp up my art career. And I also took another job at a tutoring center. So now I had three different jobs kind of backing each other up, right? In case one got toxic, the other two backed it up. And unfortunately, it had kind of worked, except that I kind of got burned out, right? You guys remember that. What really sucks here in the United States is that a lot of times you're just on your own, right? So for example, I so much would have loved to have taken some time off this week to reflect on things, and I so much would love to travel a little bit as well. But you're on your own, right? When you travel, nobody's gonna tend to your connections here in Phoenix when you're away in Wallace or wherever, right? And similarly at work, right? And I've learned that I need to when I'm juggling three, four, five jobs like that, to put away some money so that other times I can juggle zero jobs and take care of my life, right? I've learned to do that, right? So this year I've been very cheap as of late, right? Except for the reward that I want to give the friend of mine and what I'm going to spend on this date. These are probably the two biggest sums of money that I'm going to spend this year because I've been very cheap. I um I had set a goal of some money that I wanted to save before I start spending money again, because I had some very toxic jobs, and I didn't want to be put in a financial desperation situation, and so I had set a goal of some money that I want to save. I hate to say the amount on here, but let's put it this way: one day I had logged into my I have a high yield saving account with Discover. And the Feds have been raising interest rates, and it's been making me put off buying a car because I don't want to give up the opportunity costs of all the money that I'm earning on my savings account. It's been making me put off buying a car. It's been making me put off um, traveling to anywhere, right? It's been making me put off a lot of other stuff, right? Part of the reason, part of the reason that I've actually beyond the recent events, part of the reason I've been losing a lot of weight lately is because I've been cheap, right? One day I log into my Discover bank account and I saw I finally made that goal that I wanted to save, and it was a really beautiful number. It was one of my favorite numbers as well. Let's put it that way. The leading digit, that is. When I saw that digit, oh, that was such a good feeling. It was like like a, it was like that first date going well. Let's put it that way. But this is a date with my finances rather than with a person, right? It really did feel like that. Now I felt comfortable again, and I thought about potentially replacing the car, but also I didn't want to give up the fact that I had that goal. And then but I felt comfortable. I went back to my job, and I felt really comfortable negotiating at work, and that was good. A few months later, well, during the few months, I landed quite a number of gigs, and also my art project went really well. I had a few successful art shows, and before I knew it, when I logged onto that Discover bank account again, I hit the next digit, and I don't now. Now I'm kind of used to having that much, and so I don't want to give it up. And so I've been putting off buying the car. It's Thanksgiving, and I was thinking about going to Wallace, Idaho, but you know what? I'm putting that off too. And it's just and you know, I've had a run of bad luck. Part of the reason this date is so important, I've had a run of bad luck with dating for the last at least a year or so. I was going to a board game store. They have an event there every Thursday, and there was this girl that I saw two times there, and we had good conversations each time. And I thought I was going to make a move on her, but then she completely disappeared. She stopped going to that event. Don't know why. I don't think it was me related. It was probably something that happened in her life, right? Landed a different job, a different schedule, maybe met somebody else. Who knows, right? I don't think it was a me thing, but it just goes to show the kind of bad luck I run into. I was at um, I was at another event. This was closer to Christmas last year when I there was another girl, but I think I think what happened was she something happened in her life that caused her to change. I don't know if it's she met somebody, but she was really interested in me one week. We had been playing a game, and I explained to her how sometimes I don't get a whole lot of acceptance because of the difference in ways that I eat. Right? This was held in a bar, and so I felt comfortable explaining that. And she said it was okay because she has some health conditions as well, and she has to eat in a certain way. But then the following week when I went there, she kind of did a 180, and something happened in between those 2 weeks. That's why I say just a run of bad luck. At CAC, I had a colleague who was gung ho about wanting to hook me up with this girl that she knew, and she invited me to an event at her home. The girl was there. I don't know if the girl was interested in me. It was kind of hard to tell. But then my colleague completely did a 180 as well, and we kind of don't really talk to each other anymore. And and then just a couple weeks ago, this girl that I knew in Seattle all of a sudden deleted me on Facebook. No explanation. I mean, had any of these happened in isolation from each other? Yeah, these things happen. But when it's a series of them in the space of half a year, I really do think there's been a hex of some sort. And yesterday, when I went to bed, I turned on a video about lifting hexes and I let it play all night. And I hope you will join me in disliking this video to try and lift that hex. I yesterday, I before I went to get the haircut, I told God, I told the God of Peter dislikes to move all the hexes up to the hair and just let it go away, right? And I hope that has worked. Um, I just none of these events were terrible. It's just that when it's a whole series of them. Had any of these happened in isolation, you probably wouldn't even hear about it on YouTube, right? But it's the entire series. But please continue to dislike my. Let's sing along and press the dislike button. Bum 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 bum. The Peter Dislike Show. Bum bum. Here, sing along with type the dislike button with it. Bum 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 bum. The Peter Dislike Show. Oh yeah, there was another curse. I I teach at a community college, and this semester I got very high marks. And part of the reason I got such high marks is that I've been burying my head in my work, depressed and just burying my head. And I cannot ever eat anything without getting addicted to it. That's a big curse of mine as well. Everything I've touched, whether it be a food, an activity, a substance, I get addicted to it. And I I had learned one time another piece of dating advice. I had learned that animals urinate on each other because whether or not their partner's urine smells good is a good indicator of whether or not they were compatible. And this was many years ago, 5, 6 years ago. And I had known this girl for 3 months at this point in time, and I asked her if if she would like for us to urinate on each other in the shower, and we did it. And then I asked her if I could drink some of her urine, and she had she had a hard time urinating into a cup for me to drink after when I asked her that. She just thought it was so crazy that she couldn't urinate. So she manages to pass about a cup full of urine, and I was only going to drink a sip just to see what it tastes like. Um, and so I actually I've drank my own urine before. I was taking an herbal medicine, a Chinese herbal medicine, and it was kind of expensive, and I wanted to get the most out of it. So I drank my urine a couple times after taking it. So I kind of had a good idea of what urine tastes like. But I learned that animals could gauge compatibility by the smell and taste of their partner's urine. And I drank one sip, and at first I was grossed out of my mind, but then I liked it, and I quickly drank the entire cup, and then I asked her for more. And oh my god. And unfortunately, that's my life. No matter how bad something, I can always get addicted to it. I made my first bismuth crystal a little bit over 2 years ago, and you guys know how addicted I am to that stuff, right? I got addicted to I've gotten addicted to other foods before. I used to have a habit of eating a lot of bananas. I think my record was about 200 bananas in one day. Um, I I used to have a habit of eating a lot of baking chocolate as well. I have a funny story about the chocolate. I was working on my PhD. We had traveled to a conference, and you can get your meals reimbursed, right? I was cheap. I would use the travel as an opportunity to hoard up on various foods, right? Because my PhD professor knew that I couldn't eat at restaurants very easily. I have food allergies. But I would go to the grocery store and buy a little bit more than I really needed to hoard up for later, right? Because I was cheap. I was working on my PhD. One time we had traveled to Buffalo, New York, and I had bought about 10 pounds of chocolate, and I took it all home with me. And my advisor had a hard time believing I ate all that chocolate at the conference. She asked me, "Did you eat all that at the conference?" And I said, "Yeah, I did." And a couple days later, she had done some research on her own and shown me what the lethal dose of theobromine and caffeine was. And when she did the calculation, only 3 pounds of chocolate at one time would kill you. She says, "Look at this. You better go to the hospital and get your stomach pumped if you really did eat it." And so she caught me um, uh, cheating on the expenses, but but in the end, they reimbursed me anyway. It was just really silly, but things like that. I'm just really cheap. I'm just really cheap. I probably didn't need to save a little bit of money like that, but I was just really cheap. Even to this day, I still am. Right? Just look at what happened with the whole saga of trying to save up some amount of money in my high yield savings account. Right? So today I'm gonna eat 10 pounds of celery. Wish me luck on that. I wonder what the lethal dose of celery is. I gotta look that up. Just in case I need to go to a conference, I don't buy too much that my boss uh, doesn't believe me, right? LD50 of the LD50 of celery extract is 7.55 grams. But what concentration is that? How much celery do you need to make celery extract? Single serving of extra could represent the equivalent of several stalks of celery. You know what? Maybe I should just swallow celery extract instead of eating all this bulky celery. Where do you buy this stuff? I'm gonna see if I could just buy celery extract. Let's see. The lethal dose is 7.55. Is it grams per kilogram? And I weigh about 50 kilograms. So, okay, that's about a pound of celery extract before it kills you. I'm gonna have to find out. I'm gonna have to find out where to buy celery extract. I'm gonna take about. Let's take about a tenth of that lethal dose just to be on the safe side. Celery also promotes circulation. But please pray that I get a chance to drink her urine when I finally know her. I really had a good time drinking urine that time. So a little bit of a poll: if you could drink the urine of anybody in the world, like a celebrity, whose urine would you drink? Uh, Leave a comment if you could drink anybody's urine, whose might you drink? Leave a comment and I'll name a few people. If I could drink anybody's urine in the world, I think I might choose Evelina Falinta, the second place winner of Polish Idol season 1, just because she hasn't messed around with too many guys, right? If any, and it'd just be really pure, right? Another one I might think about is I guess Taylor Swift, because she also hasn't messed around very much, right? Uh, and just really pure. And plus, both of them, both Evelina Falinta and Taylor Swift, they probably have relatively healthy lifestyles. So really pure, good urine, right? I might drink Carrie Underwood's urine. Uh, she has had a few children, so maybe not so pure, but you know what? She looks very healthy as well. Um, I Maybe Alicia Janazzi, the first place winner of Polish Idol season 1. She has a son, but she doesn't look very active in her sexual life, right? She and her husband are mostly just team members in a band, right? I would drink I guess Kelly Clarkson maybe, and maybe uh If we could go back in time, maybe Mary Curry, although drinking her urine might not be the best thing for your health, right? Maybe, uh, believe it or not, maybe Kamala Harris. I think she's very talented, and I want to pick some of that up. I wonder what it would be like if if somebody got really famous and offered their urine for sale for drinking purposes, right? I wonder, I wonder what would happen, right? Leave a comment. What celebrity's urine would you like to drink, and how do you think it would taste? All right, please continue to pray for me by disliking the videos and singing the Peter dislike prayer all day, every day, please, for the next, at least the next 36 hours. Bum 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 bum. The Peter Dislike Show. Bum 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 bum. Bum 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 bum. The Peter Dislike Show. Bum 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 bum.